Mhm.
Hey everybody, it's Kathy Boyle, president of Shape and Hill Advisors. Today we're introducing another member of our Circle of Influence. We've designed our Circle of Influence to showcase experts in a wide variety of fields and services. Because when you need an expert, very often you're in a hurry and you usually reach out and get a referral from a friend, colleague, peer, family member. And the expert that worked for them may not be the right one for you. And everybody sounds good on paper, but many people can't deliver. So the idea here is that these are tested in the trenches, vetted experts, so you can trust them. You can find them on our website, shapeandhill.com, with a drop-down menu. So today I'm delighted to introduce Rob Pecha. Rob is a 1031 expert, and we're going to talk about that. So Rob, welcome. Nice to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Kathy. Greatly appreciate it.
Okay, so let's talk big picture, the 10,000-foot view. Let's talk about real estate owners, investors, what they usually do in terms of their cap gains and where a 1031 fits in and what is a 1031.
Sure. So the 1031 is a like-kind exchange code was created by the IRS. It allows people that are selling investment properties to deploy those proceeds into something else. And by doing so, Uncle Sam says, well, I'm not going to make you pay the capital gains. You're going to defer it. You're going to kick it down the line. So it's a great concept. It's been around for 100 years now. It started with horses and land as a means for farmers to swap those things. The definition of like-kind exchange has vastly expanded from there, but it's still referring to stuff held for investment purposes. So if you're selling a highly appreciated asset, chances are your real estate attorney or your CPA said, yeah, take a look at the 1031 because it's a really powerful code. It allows you to keep more of the money in your pocket working for you instead of giving up a large chunk in tax to Uncle Sam. So everybody likes it, but it's not the easiest thing to navigate. That's kind of where I step in, and I'll talk more about that later.
Okay, terrific. So just again, big picture, what happens from my experience is real estate owner owns a building where their business is. They've owned it for 40 years. They paid 500,000, it's worth 10 million. They don't want to pay cap gains on 9.5 million. So what they do is they roll it into another property, potentially another investment property, potentially a pool of properties, so that therefore they can defer their capital gains and not pay it today, but then again, continue to use all their capital for additional investment, correct?
Correct. A lot of these investors are, as I said, sitting on a highly appreciated asset. And as you said, owned it forever, bought it for next to nothing. Now they're looking at a big capital gains tax. So the 1031 is attractive. They're probably looking at depreciation recapture too, which oftentimes is missed. So all these things kind of add up. And the 1031 is a great tool to keep more of that money in your pocket, as I mentioned. But it's not always the easiest thing to navigate. And I have certain profiles of investors that I can help. And I'll get more into that later.
Yeah, so let's just take a step back on your background. So you started as a military guy, your dream was to be a pilot. And then, God gave us one of those opportunities to transition. So let's talk a little bit about your background and how you arrived at 1031s as a specialty.
Sure. Thanks, Kathy. So yeah, I wasn't always 1031 Rob. This is fairly new. Half a life ago, I was a cadet in the United States Air Force Academy with aspirations to become a fighter pilot. So my dream was to drop bombs on the enemy abroad and service the nation that way. For medical reasons, it didn't pan out. 2 years into it, I was tested. I went in pilot qualified. Suddenly I got retested during my second year and hey, you're no longer pilot qualified. You're no longer even navigator qualified. So that left me with a decision. It was the late 90s, so it didn't matter if you wanted to fly the plane or wash it. You couldn't get corrective surgery. So wait, see if the surgery evolves, pick another career in the Air Force, or I picked the third option. I said, you know what, I'm fairly smart. I speak a bunch of languages. I will figure it out, even though I was devastated at the time. So I got my degree from Georgetown University in international business, only because I had no idea what I wanted to go into. I felt like the rug was ripped out from underneath me. I was very laser focused on the military path. And I said, I will figure it out. So post college, I spent a little bit of time in the energy sector in marketing and sales, more out of convenience. That just kind of found me. I wasn't looking for it. I was just open to opportunities. In 2008, I got into financial services. Great year to start financial services, right? Though I had a good run out of the gate. Since 2008 to 2012, I tried a lot of, I call it the Baskin Robbins 31 flavors of being a financial advisor. So I did a lot of the mainstream stuff, the life insurance, the annuities, the long-term care, pension max, college planning. Didn't really love any of it. In 2012, I came across this specialty in the 1031 space, realized it's one-dimensional, which I like. So as a former aeronautical engineering major slash international business major, I like to keep things simple, and it is one-dimensional. I'm able to keep it simple. It's also very underserved. There aren't many of us talking about it, even fewer that are like me, that leave a lot of money on the table as a financial advisor, not touching that other stuff. But me personally, I'm better laser focused on one thing. So I know this space pretty well, and the rest is the rest. I'm happy to farm out very good professionals that will do the right thing by the client. And then finally, I started in 2012 in this discipline, had a few affiliations while I got my feet wet. Finally, in 2018, I became a dad for the first time in November. My first daughter, Madison, was born. A week later, I turned 40. And I just felt like I was bathed in a different light completely. I said, no more building something for somebody else. I need to build something for my girls. And by the way, the only way, and this is what correlates to my past, my military past, I'm a straight shooter. As an ex-military guy, I still agree on a handshake, and I live by an honor code, both personally and professionally. And I realized the only way I could be true to that honor code, being very quality centric in the products that I offer my clients, is to run my own practice versus being tethered to other outfits where I'm subjugated to their rules. So all these things kind of pulled together, plus being a new dad, I was like, gotta run with this, gotta build my own practice, my own brand, run aggressively with it, and never ever look back. And it's been great. It's been great because I realized the stickiness of my brand, what I've created here. People fall into two camps. They either know kind of sort of what I do, and with those people, I go a little deeper and educate, or they have no idea what I do. They think I do Halloween promotions. They think I do radio. I've heard a lot of stuff, but the stickiness of that 1031 brand is here to stay. And sometimes people remember it for the wrong reasons, but it really doesn't matter. It frees me up to tell my story and to meet with good people and to be a resource out there. And again, be a straight shooter. So I really enjoy it.
Terrific. All right, let's just talk briefly about the three profiles, one at a time. So give me an example of a profile that's ideal for you to assist.
Sure. So I'll run through them quickly. So I actually have four, and I'll run through them fairly quickly. We touched upon one already, which are older folks. They're people in their 60s, 70s. They've owned the property forever, bought it for next to nothing. Now they're looking to sell, looking at a big capital gains tax, also property depreciation recapture. They heard about this 1031 thing. They like the idea of not paying the tax to Uncle Sam if they can do it in a clean and legal way. But they're also not wild about being landlords again. We're dealing with the tenants, the toilets, and the trash all over again. They knew what their headaches were for the last 25 years. They don't want to make the lateral move into somebody else's. What I offer is a modular basket of highly passive investable products that come in all shapes and sizes, so retail, multifamily, industrial, self-storage, all different asset classes all over the country. But at the end of the day, they're institutional grade properties that are professionally run, that are hands off for the investors. So for those investors that want to capitalize on the tax deferral benefit of a 1031, but not have the headaches associated with being an active landlord again, these could be great. Or as I say, trade the tenants, the toilets, and the trash for the tea time, the travel, and the tennis. This could be a home run.
Got it.
The second category, I just call it the 45-day insurance policy. The 45-day timeline is something that can be problematic for investors inside of a 1031 for two reasons: procrastination, or they put all their eggs in one basket. I've seen both. Leverage my menu as a backup. I've literally been a backup to a backup for a client. I've had the client tell me, Rob, you're not my first choice. You're not even my second choice. But compared to paying 40% cap gains, this is a win. So sometimes you get backed into it and it's not your first choice, but it does work. Third category is just matching debt and equity without getting into too much detail. There are two components you want to keep your eye on inside of a 1031. How much equity you have to deploy, and if you retire at a mortgage, what position was that? Because this menu is so modular and I have different amounts of loan to value baked into these deals at the sponsor level, I can literally hit those numbers on the penny. Whereas in a traditional exchange, that may be challenging. And the fourth and final bucket is, I just call it the scraps. And most people get what I mean by that. Somebody sells an investment property, let's say for 3 million, they find a perfect home for 2.8 in the traditional sense, where they run out there and find their own stuff in the allotted time. There's still 200,000 sitting with the qualified intermediary in escrow. It's gonna get hit with the tax unless they find a home for it held for investment purposes. Anything north of 100,000 I can pick up, put into a well-placed multifamily, an industrial, a self-storage, get the client exposure to a different piece of real estate that complements their portfolio, earning them a decent income on that, plus have the opportunity for back-end depreciation. It's just a better use of the money versus leaving stuff behind and getting hit with the tax. So those are the four profiles.
Okay, wonderful. So we have a great idea. Now, if I want to talk to you about 1031, how do I find you?
Well, I can't hide. Part of my branding and the 1031 Rob brand is I am everywhere. So if you Google 1031 Rob, whether you put a space in there or not, I come right up. My website, 1031rob.com, is also a great way to find me.
Terrific. We're delighted to have you in our circle of influence.
Pleased to be here, Kathy. Thank you.